Listen up, because what I'm about to tell you will completely destroy everything you thought you knew about women. Did you know that 90% of men will go their entire lives without understanding why women act the way they do? Why that sweet, loving girlfriend suddenly becomes a manipulative child? Why she tests you constantly and then denies she's doing it? Why she acts helpless one minute and then emotionally destroys you the next? Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist who founded analytical psychology, spent decades studying the female mind, and what he discovered was so shocking, so controversial, that mainstream psychology tried to bury his findings. Here's the truth they don't want you to know. Every woman you've ever met is hiding a dark psychological reality. She's playing mind games you don't even realize are happening. She's testing you in ways that would make a CIA interrogator jealous. And she's doing it all while putting on the performance of a lifetime. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why women act childish when they don't get their way, why they play victim while secretly controlling everything, why they sexualize themselves for attention but then shame you for noticing, and most importantly, you're going to learn how to see through the mask they all wear. This isn't about hating women. This is about understanding female psychology so you can finally stop being confused, manipulated, and played like a fool. Carl Jung gave us the roadmap to decode female behavior, but you've never heard it explained like this. What you're about to discover will change how you see every woman forever. Are you ready for the truth? Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. You know that feeling when you first meet a woman and she seems perfect? Sweet, innocent, caring, supportive. She laughs at your jokes. She's interested in your life. She seems genuinely happy just to be around you. Then something changes. Maybe it's after the first month. Maybe it's after she thinks she's got you. Suddenly, this grown woman starts acting like a 5-year-old child. She's using baby talk. She's pretending she can't open a jar or figure out basic technology. She's pouting when she doesn't get her way and throwing emotional tantrums like a toddler. This isn't an accident. This isn't her being comfortable around you. This is psychological manipulation, and Carl Jung figured it out over 100 years ago. Jung discovered what he called the persona, the fake mask that people wear to hide their true nature. Women are absolute masters at this game. They create this perfect persona to hook you, then slowly reveal their true psychological reality once they think you're trapped. That infantile behavior, that's not cute, that's calculated. When a grown woman suddenly can't do things she was perfectly capable of before, she's training you to become her caretaker. She's conditioning you to see her as helpless, so you'll take responsibility for her life while she takes control of yours. The baby talk isn't affection, it's psychological regression. She's literally turning herself into a child, so you'll treat her like one. No consequences for her actions, no adult expectations, just unconditional care and protection while she gets to act however she wants. And the worst part, she genuinely doesn't think she's doing anything wrong. In her mind, this is just being feminine. But Jung knew better. He understood that this behavior triggers something primal in masculine men: disgust, confusion, and the feeling that something is fundamentally wrong. You're not crazy for feeling uncomfortable when a grown woman acts like a helpless child. Your masculine instincts are telling you that this behavior is manipulative and unnatural. Carl Jung called this the shadow of feminine psychology, the dark side that women hide behind their sweet, innocent persona. This childish behavior is just the beginning. It's actually a setup for something much worse, because once she's established that you'll take care of her like a child, she starts implementing the real psychological warfare. The mind games are about to begin, and they're more sophisticated than you ever imagined. Once a woman has you conditioned to see her as this sweet, helpless creature, that's when the real psychological manipulation begins. What comes next is Jung's concept of the shadow, the hidden, darker aspects of personality that people don't want to admit exist. Get ready to have your mind blown. Women don't consciously plan most of their manipulative behavior. It's built into their psychological programming. They're literally hardwired to test men constantly, and they do it so naturally that they genuinely believe they're not doing it. Let me give you some examples you've definitely experienced. She'll create a crisis out of nothing, then get upset when you try to solve it logically. She'll ask you a question, then get mad at you for giving her the wrong answer to a question she never actually asked. She'll do something that obviously bothers you, then act shocked and hurt when you react. These aren't accidents, these are tests, unconscious ways women evaluate whether you're strong enough to handle their psychological chaos. Here's the twisted part. There's no right answer. The test isn't about finding the correct response. The test is about seeing if you'll keep playing her game. When she creates drama out of nothing, she's not looking for you to fix the problem. She's testing whether you'll abandon your own reality to enter her emotional world. When she gets upset about something that makes no logical sense, she's not being irrational. She's checking if you'll doubt your own judgment to keep her happy. And then there's the sexual manipulation. This is where things get really dark. She'll dress provocatively and post attention-seeking photos online, then shame you for noticing other women. She'll withdraw intimacy as punishment, then act like you're a pervert for wanting physical connection with your own girlfriend. The psychological pattern Carl Jung identified is this: women will push every boundary you have to see where you break. They'll test your patience, your logic, your self-respect, and your masculinity. And the moment you fail one of these tests, the moment you get emotional, defensive, or start doubting yourself, she loses respect for you. Something even more twisted: she doesn't want you to fail these tests. Unconsciously, she's hoping you'll be strong enough to maintain your frame while she's trying to destroy it. She wants a man who can see through her games without being controlled by them. This testing behavior is actually women's way of trying to find a psychologically strong man. Most men don't understand what's happening, so they either become doormats who fail every test, or they get angry and reactive, which also fails the test. The feminine shadow is designed to break weak men and find strong ones. This is just the surface level. Wait until you discover how deep this psychological manipulation really goes. What I'm about to show you next will explain why grown women act like spoiled children when they don't get their way. Modern psychology still refuses to acknowledge this shocking truth. Many women never actually grow up psychologically. There's this concept called the eternal child archetype that keeps women trapped in adolescent emotional patterns their entire lives. You've witnessed this nightmare, haven't you? That moment when your girlfriend doesn't get her way and suddenly she's throwing a tantrum like a 5-year-old. The crying, the silent treatment, the emotional manipulation designed to make you feel guilty for having boundaries or expectations. This isn't just immaturity. This is a sophisticated psychological strategy that women use to avoid adult responsibility while maintaining control over their environment. Think about it. When a child throws a tantrum, adults rush to fix the problem and make the child happy. When a grown woman throws an emotional tantrum, most men do exactly the same thing. She's trained you to become her emotional parent. She gets to act however she wants, and you have to manage the consequences. She creates the chaos, you clean up the mess. She has the emotional breakdown, you do the emotional labor to fix it. What you need to understand: this behavior is actually a power move disguised as helplessness. When she acts like a child, she's forcing you into a parental role where you have all the responsibility but none of the authority. You have to take care of her, but you can't actually discipline her or set real consequences. Look at social media and you'll see this pattern everywhere. Grown women posting pouty selfies for attention, using filters to look younger and more innocent, seeking constant validation and throwing emotional fits when they don't get enough likes or comments. This is the eternal child psychology amplified by technology. The daddy issues are real, and they're exactly what Jung predicted decades ago. Women who never resolved their relationship with their father spend their adult lives trying to recreate that dynamic with every man they meet. They want a man to take care of them like a father, but they also want to rebel against him like a teenager. Notice the pattern. She'll act helpless to get your protection and resources, then she'll act rebellious to assert her independence. She wants you to be strong enough to handle her like a father figure, but she'll fight your authority like a defiant child. You literally cannot win this game because the rules change based on her emotional state. Modern society has made this infinitely worse. Instead of expecting women to develop emotional maturity, we celebrate and reward childish behavior. We call it self-care when she throws tantrums. We call it expressing her feelings when she manipulates people emotionally. We've created a culture where women can act like children their entire lives without any consequences. Something even more disturbing about this pattern. The child woman complex isn't just about avoiding responsibility. It's actually connected to how women use their sexuality for psychological control. The same woman who acts like an innocent child will simultaneously hypersexualize herself for attention and validation. What comes next about their sexual psychology will explain the contradiction between the innocent child persona and the hypersexualized behavior. It's not an accident, it's a calculated psychological strategy that's designed to confuse and control men. Now we dive into the most controversial territory. Women have a completely split sexual psychology that they use to manipulate men's perception of them. On one hand, she's the innocent child who needs protection. On the other hand, she's hypersexualizing herself for attention and validation. You see this everywhere now. The same woman who posts half-naked photos on Instagram will act shocked and offended if you notice her sexuality. She'll dress provocatively, then shame men for looking. She'll seek sexual attention from strangers online, then act like her boyfriend is a pervert for wanting intimacy. Think about it. When she's acting like an innocent child, you feel protective and caring toward her. When she's being sexual with other men for attention, you feel jealous and possessive. She's literally controlling your emotional state by switching between these two personas whenever it benefits her. The hypersexualization isn't about actual sexuality, it's about power and control. She's not posting those photos because she's comfortable with her sexuality. She's posting them because she's addicted to the validation and the psychological power of knowing she can manipulate men's attention. What most men miss, she actually resents her own sexual power. Deep down, she knows that using her body for attention is hollow and manipulative. That's why she gets angry when men respond to her sexual signals. She wants the power that comes from being desired, but she doesn't want the responsibility that comes with being sexual. This is why she can spend hours getting ready to look sexy, then get offended when someone notices. She wants to feel desirable, but she doesn't want to be seen as actually sexual. She wants the attention without the accountability. This sexual deception serves a deeper psychological purpose. By keeping men confused about her true sexual nature, she maintains control over the relationship dynamic. You never know which version of her you're going to get, the innocent child or the sexual temptress, so you're constantly walking on eggshells trying to respond appropriately. The modern dating app culture has made this infinitely worse. Women can now seek validation from hundreds of men while simultaneously playing innocent with their boyfriend. The technology has given them unlimited access to sexual attention without any of the consequences. This sexual manipulation is just one part of a larger pattern of emotional terrorism that women use to control men. When you understand their capacity for emotional violence, everything starts to make sense. Modern psychology refuses to talk about this reality. Women have a capacity for emotional violence that most men can't even comprehend. Carl Jung called this the animus, the destructive masculine energy that women use when they want to psychologically destroy someone. You've experienced this, haven't you? That moment when your sweet, loving girlfriend suddenly becomes a completely different person. Her voice changes, her face changes, and she starts saying things specifically designed to hurt you as deeply as possible. She knows exactly where your insecurities are, and she goes straight for them with surgical precision. This isn't anger. This isn't just being upset. This is calculated emotional warfare designed to break your psychological defenses. She's not trying to resolve the conflict. She's trying to dominate you completely. The scariest part is how quickly she can switch back to being sweet and loving afterward. 1 minute, she's emotionally eviscerating you. The next minute, she's acting like nothing happened. If you try to address what just occurred, she'll gaslight you and act like you're being dramatic or oversensitive. This emotional terrorism serves a specific psychological purpose. When she destroys you emotionally, she's testing whether you'll maintain your psychological strength or crumble under the pressure. It's the ultimate test of your masculine frame. What's really twisted, she doesn't consciously plan these attacks. The animus energy emerges automatically when she feels threatened or challenged. It's like there's a completely different person living inside her, waiting to come out and destroy anyone who doesn't submit to her will. The emotional weapons she uses are sophisticated and brutal: gaslighting to make you doubt your own reality, emotional blackmail to make you feel guilty for having needs or boundaries, playing the victim to make you the bad guy no matter what actually happened. She'll bring up things from months or years ago to hurt you. She'll twist your words and use your own honesty against you. She'll threaten to leave or hurt herself to manipulate your behavior, and she'll do it all while maintaining that she's the one being mistreated. Most men are completely unprepared for this level of emotional violence. They expect conflict to be logical and fair, but feminine emotional warfare doesn't follow those rules. She's fighting to win at any cost while you're trying to resolve the actual problem. Something even more sinister about how women operate psychologically. They don't just manipulate individual men, they actually work together in ways that would shock you. Jung's theory of the collective unconscious revealed something that will blow your mind. Women share the same psychological playbook for manipulating men, and they don't even realize they're doing it. It's like they're all connected to the same manipulation manual that's embedded in their unconscious minds. Have you ever noticed how all women seem to use the exact same tactics? The silent treatment, the emotional outbursts, the victim playing, the testing behavior. It's like they all went to the same school for psychological warfare, and in a way, they did. These patterns are built into the collective feminine psychology. Women actively coach each other in these manipulation techniques. Watch what happens when a woman tells her friends about relationship problems. Do they encourage her to communicate honestly and take responsibility for her part in the conflict? Hell no. They immediately start strategizing about how she can manipulate the situation to get what she wants. Girl, you need to make him jealous. Stop giving him attention until he apologizes. Play hard to get. Make him work for it. This isn't relationship advice. This is psychological warfare training. Social media has turned this into a full-scale operation. Women now have access to unlimited manipulation tactics from millions of other women. TikTok is full of videos teaching women how to test men, how to train their boyfriends, how to use their sexuality for control. They're literally sharing manipulation techniques like it's a science. And here's the crazy part. They genuinely believe they're helping each other. They think these manipulation tactics are just girl power or knowing your worth. They don't recognize that they're teaching each other to be psychologically abusive. The sisterhood of deception is real. Women will support each other's terrible behavior no matter how wrong it is, as long as it's against a man. She can cheat, lie, manipulate, and emotionally abuse her boyfriend, but her female friends will find a way to make it his fault. He must not have been meeting her needs. He probably drove her to it. You deserve better, girl. This hive mind mentality was predicted decades ago. Women's collective psychology creates a support system for manipulation and psychological abuse that makes it almost impossible for men to get honest feedback about female behavior. The most disturbing part is how this collective manipulation affects the women themselves. They're so busy playing these psychological games that they lose touch with their own authentic desires and feelings. They become addicted to the power and control, but they also become incapable of genuine intimacy. This collective manipulation serves an even deeper psychological purpose that most people never understand. When you realize how this connects to the mother complex that ruins men's lives, everything starts to make sense. The worst part? They don't even realize they're doing it. Carl Jung's most devastating discovery was the mother complex. How women unconsciously recreate toxic maternal dynamics in every romantic relationship. This isn't just daddy issues we're talking about. This is how women turn grown men into psychological children while simultaneously destroying their confidence and masculinity. Here's how it works. She wants to fix you, improve you, change you into her ideal version of what a man should be. The process of trying to fix you requires her to treat you like a broken child who can't handle adult responsibilities. She becomes your psychological mother, and you become her project. Sound familiar? She starts managing your schedule, criticizing your choices, telling you how to dress, what to eat, how to spend your money. She acts like you're incapable of making good decisions without her guidance, and if you resist her help, she gets emotional and acts like you're being ungrateful or immature. This is psychological castration, and most men don't even see it happening. You think she cares about you and wants to help you improve. What she's actually doing is systematically destroying your confidence in your own judgment and decision-making ability. The mother complex explains why she simultaneously wants you to be strong enough to take care of her, but weak enough for her to control. She wants a man who can handle the world, but who becomes a compliant child when dealing with her. It's an impossible standard that drives men crazy. Notice this pattern. First, she creates dependency by taking over responsibilities you used to handle yourself. Then she criticizes you for not being independent enough. She trains you to need her approval and guidance, then resents you for not being a strong, autonomous man. The psychological damage this does to men is devastating. You start doubting your own instincts and judgment. You become afraid to make decisions without her input. You lose confidence in your ability to handle your own life. She's literally reparenting you into psychological dependence. The benefit of understanding this pattern, once you recognize the mother complex in action, you can protect yourself from it. When you see a woman trying to manage your life or improve you, you know she's operating from this toxic psychological pattern. Jung's insight gives you the power to maintain your masculine autonomy while dealing with feminine psychology. You can recognize when she's trying to turn you into her child, and you can refuse to play that role without becoming defensive or angry about it. Remember that sweet, innocent girl from the beginning of this video? Now you understand why she changed after she thought she had you. The mother complex kicked in, and she started trying to psychologically adopt you as her project. Now that you understand Jung's discoveries about feminine psychology, you have something most men will never possess: the ability to see through the manipulation and maintain your psychological freedom. Remember how confused you used to feel when women would act one way and then completely deny their behavior. Now you know that's the persona masking the shadow. When she claims she's not testing you while obviously testing you, you can see the game for what it is instead of doubting your own perception. The infantile behavior that used to trigger confusion and disgust now makes perfect sense. She's not actually helpless. She's using learned helplessness as a manipulation tactic. You can respond with compassion without becoming her emotional parent. When she tries to improve or fix you, you can recognize the mother complex in action and maintain your autonomy. You don't have to become defensive or angry. You can simply refuse to be treated like a child who needs her guidance and management. The emotional terrorism doesn't have to destroy you anymore. When the animus energy emerges and she starts trying to emotionally eviscerate you, you can recognize it as a psychological test. You can maintain your frame without being reactive or defensive. Jung's greatest gift to men is this: understanding female psychology without being controlled by it. You can have compassion for the psychological patterns that drive her behavior without becoming a victim of those patterns. This knowledge gives you the power to maintain attraction while setting boundaries. Most men either become doormats who tolerate everything, or they become angry and controlling when they feel manipulated. Jung's insights show you a third option: psychological strength combined with understanding. You can love women without being confused by them. You can enjoy feminine energy without being manipulated by feminine psychology. You can maintain your masculine frame while still being emotionally available and caring. The choice is yours. Use this knowledge to build healthier relationships or continue being confused and manipulated by patterns you don't understand. Carl Jung discovered something even more profound about how men should respond to feminine psychology. When you understand his recommendations, everything changes. Carl Jung didn't just identify the problems with feminine psychology, he provided a solution. He understood that the masculine response to feminine manipulation determines whether you maintain attraction and respect or whether you become another victim of psychological warfare. Jung's key insight: you cannot fight feminine psychology with masculine logic. When she's being emotional and irrational, trying to reason with her is like bringing a knife to a gunfight. She's operating from emotion and intuition, and logic will only make her more frustrated and manipulative. Instead, Jung recommended what he called holding space for feminine psychology without being consumed by it. This means you acknowledge her emotional reality without making it your responsibility to fix or change it. When she throws an emotional tantrum, you don't try to solve her problem or argue with her feelings. You remain calm and present, but you don't absorb her emotional chaos. You let her have her experience without making it about you. The key is developing what Jung called differentiation, the ability to maintain your own psychological center while dealing with someone else's psychological drama. You can be compassionate and caring without becoming enmeshed in her emotional world. This is why most men fail with women. They either become too emotionally reactive or they become too emotionally distant. Jung's approach is different. You remain emotionally available but psychologically autonomous. When she's acting like a child, you don't become her parent, but you also don't get angry at her for being childish. You maintain your adult expectations while allowing her to have her experience. When she's being sexually manipulative, you don't shame her or try to control her behavior. You also don't let her manipulation affect your own self-worth or decision-making. The transformation that happens when you stop playing her psychological games is remarkable. She starts respecting you more because you're not being controlled by her emotions. The testing behavior decreases because you're consistently passing the tests without being reactive about them. Jung realized that women actually want men who can handle their psychological complexity without being destroyed by it. They want a man who can see through their manipulation without becoming cold or distant. They want masculine strength that's unshakable but not rigid. Carl Jung discovered something even more profound about the responsibility that comes with understanding feminine psychology. This final truth changes everything about how you see relationships and women. What he never fully published, the psychological patterns we've discussed aren't just individual problems. They're connected to something much larger about human civilization itself. The men who truly understand this work don't become bitter about female nature. They become grateful for the understanding. They use this knowledge to build better relationships, not to win psychological warfare. This is dangerous knowledge because it can be misused. You could use these insights to manipulate women just as effectively as they've been manipulating you. That would make you just as psychologically destructive as the patterns identified. The real transformation happens when you use this understanding to become a better man, stronger, wiser, more compassionate, but also more discerning and less easily manipulated. Jung's final insight: the future of human relationships depends on both genders evolving beyond these destructive psychological patterns. Women need to develop authentic power beyond manipulation. Men need to develop authentic strength beyond reactivity. You now possess forbidden knowledge about female psychology that most men will never understand. The question is, what will you do with it? You now possess the psychological insights that Carl Jung spent decades developing. You understand why women act childish, play mind games, and use emotional manipulation. You can see through the mask they all wear and recognize the testing behavior for what it really is. The power is in your hands now. You can continue being confused and manipulated by feminine psychology, or you can maintain your masculine strength while building genuine intimacy with women who deserve your understanding. Something even more shocking about what women hide from men exists, something about their deepest, most secret desires that even they don't fully understand about themselves. If you're ready for the next level of truth about female psychology, the one thing women crave but will never admit they want, you know what to do. Thank you for watching.